Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Bhairab Baba. So I come to you again after a long time. Uh, we have the Hanuman Jayanti coming up very soon, and today I'll speak to you a little bit about Lord Hanuman and what his tattva, his life, teaches us and how it is useful for us as an upasaka. So, one of the most interesting aspects of any spiritual story, whether it actually historically happened or not, is irrelevant. The most important thing for an upasaka is that each story, each aspect of a story contains some valuable lessons which can be incorporated in our upasana, something we can learn, something we can integrate into our practice, regardless of whom you are worshipping, and that in turn will help you to go higher in your practice. In this sense, the story of Hanuman from the Ramayana is one of the most enlightening episodes of the text. It contains such beautiful nuances of spiritual growth. Uh, it's so relevant that anybody, any upasaka from any sampradaya, any deity upasaka, if he understands these, the finer spiritual aspects of this story, it is bound to cause a tremendous shift in the way he understands and way he develops his own practice. The first most powerful incident is perhaps when Hanuman reaches the shores of the ocean and he is not able to cross that. So, in order to do so, he is advised to rediscover his own powers, which had been eclipsed due to certain factors that happened in the past. So he is able to find his own powers, and then with one leap, he crosses the ocean. So this is a terrific metaphor, not just a metaphor, in fact, it's a psychological reality of any upasaka where time comes that one may come face to face with a problem which is so difficult that one cannot even imagine being able to cross it from the current level of consciousness. And in that state, the only way one goes forward if there is a sudden shift in one's depth of consciousness, in one's subtlety of consciousness, only that shift can make one, the upasaka, able to transcend that kind of a problem, which even some time earlier would have been impossible for him not only to get over it, but even to think of getting over it. This is one of the most vital lessons, one of the most powerful lessons that comes from that particular episode. And it's not in the sense of like a moralistic story, but this is something very real that happens inside a time, whether one is meditating or doing any kind of mantra japa, etc. What we call, for example, as the awakening of Kundalini, uh, when at all it happens, in cases that it happens, there is a sudden absolute shift in one's perspective. It's like a jump from one state to another, and that jump requires a leap of faith, because if there is an error in that, immediately the upasaka is going to fall down from his current state into a lower state. In order to do that, in order to shift oneself from um, one orbit to another, it requires an exceptional self belief, an ability to draw something from deep within oneself, a complete faith on the deity or the practice that one is doing. These are the things that transforms Hanuman who is not aware of his own powers, into Hanuman Mahavira, who jumps across the ocean from one side to the other and makes him a god for all times to come. This is the first very crucial lesson that every upasaka will understand and will have to cross. That kind of a metaphorical ocean is something that each one will have to cross at some point or the other. Another interpretation of this is that the waters, the ocean, is also representative of the Jal Tattva, which comes from the Swadhisthana Chakra, which is the center, the locus of our consciousness, which holds things like lust, desire, etc. So, what Hanuman is doing is in one shot, he crosses the whole path without having to go through the karmic complexities of navigating that chakra. So, that also is reflected in the fact that people who do very serious Hanuman Upasana are expected to maintain brahmacharya or celibacy, as far as very strict celibacy as far as possible. That's one of the preconditions for a large number of Hanuman Upasanas. If somebody is willing to take the sadhana to the level where he attains siddhi of the process, siddhi means culmination of the process where he has a vision and a oneness with the deity. General uh, devotion to Hanuman or any deity for that matter does not require that strict rules, which is why there are hundreds and thousands of people across India who worship all deities. So there is a difference between having a bhakti to a devata and doing the upasana of the deity so that you attain a state of oneness, a state of communion, or what is technically called siddhi of the devata. The second aspect that we find in Hanuman is that he is extremely powerful. He's not only fighting but destroying the Rakshasas and the Asura and the the enemies that comes in the battlefield, ruthlessly destroying that. He's picking up trees and attacking them. He's doing fantastic, like almost non-stop fighting. That's what he's doing, and yet he's able to at the right time. There are certain anecdotal stories again that come to us both from the text as well as through traditions, that he is always devoted to Rama. He's always devoted to the feet of Rama. Wherever Rama is, what is good for Rama, what is best for Lord Rama, what is going to please Rama is what he thinks all the time. So this is a very interesting uh, aspect of Hanuman, where he is Pavan Putra, so he is the son of Vayu. He is the son of Vayu. He represents uh, in the spiritual domain at an individual level for an upasaka the personification of the whole prana shakti that comes to an individual, that is accessible to an individual. So this prana shakti is extremely potent, very very powerful when correctly used. In fact, everything that we see around us, whole life, what we call life, the whole executive dynamism of life is a product of the prana shakti, and Hanuman is the very personification of that prana. But there is a certain catch in this. Uh, Prana is powerful, no doubt, but prana by default may not always lead one to the spiritual goal. In fact, one may go downwards as well. Just like in Shakti Upasana, there is Vidya Shakti and Avidya Shakti. Similarly, there is a possibility that what is there, the whole range of Shakti, the whole range of power that is available in the pranic level, also feeds things that are of the lower chakras, while they can also feed, also enhance the activities and powers of the higher chakras like the heart chakra and the anahata and other, the ones that make transcend or help upasaka to transcend the human condition to that of a saint. So prana is like a fuel, an engine, a vital force that is there. Hanuman represents that force, but he does not make the judgment of how that force is to be used. So what he does is that he puts it at the service of Rama. Here Rama is also a metaphorical representation of the Atma in an individual. So basically, the whole pranic world, the whole vital energy is kept at the service of the divine, which is the Antaryami, the Atma inside an individual. When that is done, then any kind of uh, deficiencies, not deficiency, rather any kind of downward movement, any kind of negative movement of the prana, or the force of the prana being misused or misdirected towards activities that are non-spiritual, that are non-dharmic, gets arrested by the fact that the pranic force by itself is not making the judgment of where its power is to be used. It is the divine, it is Rama inside, or it is the Atma which is which is the one that is deciding that where that force has to be used. When this kind of an arrangement works inside an upasaka, that is, he is able to access the full range of the prana shakti that is flowing through all his chakras, while at the same time not letting the prana decide for itself where it wants to go, instead putting it at the service of something more higher than that, something like the atman or the deity who resides in the depth of the heart. When that is done, then such an upasaka becomes a tremendous force, a victorious force, because there you have Rama and there you have Hanumana together, working together inside an individual, and such an individual will never fail. Of course, it's a very high state, and as upasakas, one can aspire for it. But this is fundamentally the most important lesson that we learn from the story of Hanumana that comes to us from the Ramayana, and which is still so popular and which is also so inspiring for millions of people across this nation. The Tantras have also given various procedures for Hanuman Upasana, Mantra Upasana, and there are yantras of him, there are different mantras of him. There is one specific Hanuman mantra, which the visualization has to be done in the manner that one imagines that Hanuman is in battlefield and there is Ravana charging at him, and Ravana is injured, and Hanuman is telling him that don't run away, stand and fight. And in that kind of an aggressive mood, Hanuman is standing in the battlefield, and the Upasaka is expected to keep that imagery in his mind and then perform the necessary pujas, the nyasa, etc., and start the mantra upasana of Hanuman. Naturally, these are very aggressive upasanas, and when correctly done under the right guidance of a guru, because these mantras, these tantrokta upasanas of Hanuman that comes from the traditional tantras, invoke certain more ruthless and powerful manifestations of Hanuman, and they should always be done under the guidance of a competent guru. Otherwise, things can very easily backfire. There is another Hanuman Upasana where the Shakshari mantra of Hanuman is to be chanted, and he is considered in that visualized as the very manifestation of Kalagni Rudra, that kind of a power, and his movement, his laughter is causing all the universes to shake, in tremble in fear. And the mantra is to be chanted about, I won't mention the mantra in this video because again this is only for the sake of curiosity. This is not something that should be done lightly or just by looking at a mantra from a book. This requires the guidance of a very competent guru, because you will understand as I tell you this process just for the sake of knowledge, if nothing else. So the upasaka is expected to first do nyasa and worship Hanuman, then draw the mandala of Hanuman. Hanuman is surrounded by 8 Mahaviras, great, powerful characters and beings, from Lakshman to Sugriva to Nala, Neela, etc. 8 of them are there surrounding him. Each of the Mahaviras have to be worshipped. Then Hanuman has to be worshipped, and it has to be imagined that he is of the form of Kalagni Rudra. His laughter is uh, so terrific that the world shakes from that, the power of his laughter. 60,000 count of japa is to be done in 6 days, and on the seventh day, the Upasaka is expected to chant the mantra for almost 24 hours. And if he is able to do that without getting up, then it is believed at the depth of midnight, Lord Hanuman appears to the Upasaka, but in an extremely ferocious form, to test his resilience, his patience. In fact, it is said that Hanuman becomes the Brahman. Brahman is surrounded by the Maya of the Brahman, and he comes along with that Maya. He creates that Maya around the Upasaka to see whether the Upasaka has the capacity to take that kind of power, that kind of whether his vision has been purified enough to see the truth in a situation, in a thing, in a deity, cutting through the circumstances in the atmosphere. If he succeeds, he attains a tremendous blessing by which he becomes victorious in all the worlds, in every aspect that one can imagine, every aspect that one cannot even imagine. There is nothing more powerful than this, the Tantras say. But naturally, this kind of an upasana, as already mentioned, should only be done, if at all it is done, under the competent guidance of a guru. Otherwise, these mantras are very, very fierce, and they can invoke a exceptional reaction of fear in the upasaka and cause a, a downsliding. This is not like chanting of the Hanuman Chalisa, which is actually quite safe to do for anybody and everybody. So these Hanuman Upasanas are mentioned. There are people, apart from this, of course, there is the tradition of Sabar mantras where Hanuman is very, very popular. There are innumerable Sabar mantras of Hanuman present, and they are invoked for the sake of protection. Because in the scheme of Tantrupasana that comes from the Sabar tradition, it is believed that Hanuman precedes the goddess Bhagavati. Wherever she goes, before that Hanuman goes. And he is also regarded as one of the Mahaviras, or the great, the great uh, gathering of Viras, or specifically powerful beings who surround the goddess and who moves along with the goddess, and whose upasana is useful in order to succeed in the upasana of the goddess. At a very simple level, uh, if somebody wants to do something, somebody is an upasaka of Hanuman and is already doing some sadhana, then you can carry on. If somebody wants to do something more or something special on the day of Hanuman Jayanti, one may chant the Hanuman Chalisa, which is, as I said, one of the safest texts to do for anybody. There is, one can light a simple diya with a red uh, wick on it and add some oil or some fragrance of chameli into it. That is a smell that is believed to make Hanumanji very happy. And then chant the Hanuman Chalisa 108 times. Wear a red cloth or a saffron colored cloth. At the end of it, meditate on Rama for at least 5-10 minutes. Keep a coconut in front while you're doing all this, and at the end of the day, when the upasana is over, you can go and uh, give the coconut to any temple of Hanuman or Rama or even Vishnu. So this is a very, very simple process. Even without that also, you can just chant the Hanuman Chalisa to whatever number of times you think is convenient or possible for you, because it's a thing that always brings its own blessings. However, there are other mantra sadhanas of Hanuman, which, of course, as I mentioned, has their own nuances, and they should always be done under the guidance of somebody competent. It is when invoking a very powerful form of Hanuman as a protector, whenever the mantra Shakti is to be invoked, it does require certain degree of strength, certain depth, and very, very crucially, a staunch celibacy has to be there in the Upasaka. Hanuman Upasana without celibacy is more or less an invitation for disaster. I mean, general bhakti is all right, but when somebody thinks that he or she wants to do Upasana and take that Upasana to a very high level for Lord Hanuman, then it is important to understand that he or she is expected to maintain strong levels of celibacy, and not only physical celibacy, but it has to be mental celibacy. Hanuman Upasana requires that. That's all for today, and I hope you all have a very fantastic Hanuman Jayanti. Namaste.